Okay, so first off, happy spring, everybody, which I wasn't paying attention to when the first day of spring actually was. I think it was the 20th, which means I think winter wrap-up day was the 19th, and I didn't even celebrate by listening to the fucking song. Like, what kind of piece of shit am I? But yeah, it's like, I guess it's now finally spring, and... Okay, there's this sound going on in my car. It's kind of like this high-pitched ringing. I don't even have it on. That kind of worries me a bit. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I know I can, and it's actually kind of distracting, but I'll still try to talk through it. If you do hear the sound, I'm sorry. It wasn't playing when I hit record, but okay. But anyways, like, this is generally like my favorite season. Winter is too cold, summer is too hot, and now that I'm not in school, I can't be like, yeah, I'm on vacation for the summer, I can look forward to it. It's like, no, it's just hot as balls. That's all it is. Spring is a nice balance. Autumn is also a nice balance, but I just like the vibe of spring. You know, it's new beginnings, it's a fresh start. It tends to just be really pretty to look at. Like, I love the autumn colors a lot too. Like, those are my two favorite seasons, but just after everything's been dead and dark throughout winter, seeing all the color, like all the green coming back, especially at like my old house where my parents live, which is like 10 minutes up the road. But, like, it just gets so pretty. And I remember when I was at law school, like, seeing... I mean, it was also in California. So, you know, I'm literally wearing my Pepperdine shirt, too. But it's like, it's California, so you weren't getting a whole lot of rain. But, you know, after a couple days of rain, if you were so lucky, you know, you would go through the... So, like, you would go through the Canyon Road. I was trying to remember what it was called. Like, you go through Canyon, which was usually so dead, and seeing it be so green for a few days was always really nice. But speaking of it being March, speaking of it being spring, March Madness has fucking happened. I don't remember if it had happened, if it had started by my last Thursday video, and I just forgot to talk about it, but holy crap, this tournament is wild. I mean, it is called March Madness for a reason, which is why I love it. I don't super follow college sports. Like, I follow college football enough, but I don't tend to not get super into it, and definitely not for college basketball, but I still love watching the tournament, or at least following the tournament, and I make a bracket every year. I don't do well, notably because I don't really follow it. Like, I had Purdue winning the whole thing, so I was like, sure, why not? They're a 1 seed. Surely they'll do too well. And boy, I was wrong. I mean, look, like, half the 1 seeds are already gone. I think, like, 2 of the 2 seeds, maybe even 3 of them are already gone. We've had upset after upset, and as someone who's not super invested, someone who doesn't have any money writing on it, I'm having a good time just watching the chaos unfold. But it's a part of the year I always do. Even if I don't super follow the season, I always look forward to it. Other things to talk about. So, later today, I'm going to go see John Wick 4. I'm going with a couple buddies of mine. We've already got our tickets. Weird fun fact, I have watched every John Wick movie with a different group of people. The first I watched on home video, I mean, you know, DVD technically, because we don't have VHSs anymore. It's kind of wild to think that, yeah, there's a lot of people, like, there's full-on adults or, like, teenagers about to be adults and shit who have no idea what a VCR is. Like, that's insane to me as someone who grew up with VHSs. But nonetheless, regardless, I watched it on DVD with my dad and a couple family friends who I've known forever. They're basically an extension of my family at this point. Not even at this point, like years ago they were. John Wick 2 also watched on DVD with a good buddy of mine. John Wick 3 I watched in a drive-in movie theater with my sister. And so John Wick 4, I'm going to watch it with another couple buddies of mine. So, like, I kind of like, it's kind of like every time I play a Tales game, it's on a new system. I guess you can argue, like, I replayed Symphonia, and I replayed it on the same system I played it the first time, so it's either, well, it's the same game, it's the same system, so it counts, or it's like, well, you played the game again, but it was on the same system, but every unique Tales game has been on a completely different system from every other Tales game I've played, and if I do end up playing, and I want to play Abyss, Eternia, and Zillia this year. They are on the list. I don't know if I will get to all 3 of them. I don't know if I'll get to any of them because there's a lot of shit on the list. But yeah, theoretically, they would also all be on completely different systems from every other Tales game, which it's just weird how that works. But speaking of games, speaking of the list, I did finish Fire Emblem Engage last night. I did all of the main story maps. I did all of the main game or base game paralogs. Never got the DLC. So, like, I ended up seeing the Xenolog trailer, like, fuck, this looks cool. Like, I kind of want to get the DLC, but I also feel like I'm done with it. I might pick it back up later to do the DLC and whatnot, but I am done with it. I am finally done. I think my final time was like 70 hours, which does not include... I think it was 72. It was like 71, 59, 58 or something like that, which does not include several attempts where I failed a map. So my in total time is probably like 80, 85 hours or so, maybe a little more. That would not surprise me. I'm definitely going to do a full video on it, so I won't go too deep into my thoughts right now, which I've done throughout Car Talk videos. It's like, hey, I've been playing Engage. It's really good. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, short version, I liked the game a lot. This is definitely one of those games that I think the story and the characters at worst are serviceable but kind of jank. At best, I'm going to be using the word engaging a lot unironically when talking about it. And it's not even like I said, unironically. It's not like, how many times going to sneak it in. It's like, no, but it's so easy to say, this was really engaging, or like, this part wasn't engaging. And then every time I do, my brain just kind of goes, really? You're going to use that word? But I feel like the story, like I said, at worst, jank, kind of just okay. But at best, it does get really interesting. I did feel really engaged and invested in the plot at times, or like in some of the scenes and in some of the characters, and I was actively looking forward to seeing some of the supports. Would actually get to see what some of these people are really like, at least like the units I played with, because like if you were not in my immediate army, Fram, Clan, Bune, like I did not learn anything about you besides like your base shit. But some of my homies like Panette, Pandreo, Fogato, Hortensia, holy shit! Hortensia went from a character who was riding the bench after I got her. I was like, I've got plenty of people already. I have people that are already black mages who can also do some healing. I don't really have a spot for you, I'm sorry. To, you just became one of the most invaluable members of the party. Holy crap, I am so glad I realized that I essentially had an empty slot in my team, and I decided to fill you in and see what you could do. You delivered. What a glow up. It's like, did she get a single MVP in my playthrough? No, not on the stat sheet, but she really did. Like, it's something you'll hear a lot in football. It's like, this guy makes a lot of plays that don't show up on the stat sheet. That was Hortensia. Like, she was so reliable and so clutch, and so kind of like Seedall as well. Like, yeah, he's the dancer. He's not going to show up and be getting MVPs, but he's important. He's clutch. Shout out to them, man. But, yeah, I really like the game. It's not perfect. There are things that don't quite work in the story. There's parts of the presentation that to me leave something to be desired. The gameplay is amazing, but it also, gosh, I hated playing it at times. Like a couple days ago, I did a map, and by the time I was done, I had 4 people die, and it was a 3-hour map, and I was like, I need to do this again, because I lost 4 people at the end. Like, it just became a massive clusterfuck, and I wasn't able to fix it. That's a problem, and I can't go forward with this. But also, that was 3 hours of my life that I am not getting back. Fuck this, man. But I am done with it. I'm looking forward to giving my thoughts on the game, and it's gonna be long. Like, Symphonia was an hour and a half. This is probably gonna be about that long. So just a heads up on that. I apologize ahead of time for how long I'm gonna be talking about Engage. Let's see. So now that Engage is done, I think at this point it's like, I just need to read Fate. Like, my schedule was kind of weird this week. I had 3 days off in a row. And I was like, cool, I can get a lot of Fate done. I can get some Fate read. And oh boy, 2 of those days I didn't even touch it because I was busy playing Fire Emblem. now that it's done, I kind of want to not play video games for a while, but I do want to read some VNs. And I mean, okay, Resident Evil's coming out in a couple days, or Resi 4, and I know my roommates are going to get it, and so I'm probably going to play it with them too. Like, that's more of like a group project, so that's kind of an exception, but I don't really want to get invested in another game until I at least finish the Fate route, so we'll see how that goes. But when I do pick it up, I am enjoying it, and I think that's important. I'm not like, man, it's on my list, and I know I need to do it, but it's terrible. I'm like, no, like, I'm liking it. I'm having a lot of fun reading it. It's just Fire Emblem was all consuming. Mentioned Resident Evil. Oh yeah, so I mentioned football a little bit ago, which would have been a great segue to talk about what just happened with the Saints. I have to shout out their medical team, which is not something I would normally say given all the injuries we've had the past couple of years, but they just signed a tight end. I don't remember his name. I think his last name is Foster. I don't remember the first name. I'm so sorry off the top of my head that I can't remember, but I have Foster written down. He had a physical with the team, and during the physical, they discovered that he had leukemia. It was some, like, form of leukemia. It's like hypro. It was something like that. I'm not super sure. But shout out to them doing a physical and finding out, like, hold on a second, dude. There's actually something wrong. Like, you need to go get help for this. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to be stepping away from football for a bit. I don't know if he's full on retiring or if it's like, I got to take a timeout to make sure I am okay. And 100%, regardless if he still ends up coming to the Saints later or not, I sincerely hope this man is okay. I sincerely hope he's able to get the medical attention he deserves. And yeah, I have to shout out the medical team for doing this and finding this out, because it may have saved his life. It reminds me of what happened with Karis LeVert a few years ago in the NBA when he got traded from the Nets. I don't remember where he went. I want to say it was Indiana or Miami. But I remember he got traded, and then during the trade, I think they found like a blood clot in his kidney. It was some like crazy sounding shit. And he's like, yeah, me getting traded saved my life. And yeah, I mean, shout out to those medical teams too, but that's important, man. Like, I sincerely hope he's going to be okay. The other couple things to talk about. So I was just putting my notes down because I know what the last couple things are. It's Survivor and Home. So that day when I did the Fire Emblem map for 3 hours and it amounted to nothing, I was not having a good day. That was why. It wasn't like, man, life was being really shitty, and then this happened. It was like, no, I was just sulking because Fire Emblem made me mad and I was in a bad mood. But Clay and I started watching Home, and I was in a terrible mood, and he just wasn't feeling well either, so he wasn't in the best mood. We literally made it 13 minutes in the movie. We were like, we have to stop. This ain't it. This movie is terrible. This is awful. Just the way he looks. Oh, gosh, that sounds so bad. That sounds so racist. Wow, out of context, that sounds horrible. The way he looks is just horrible. But it's like, I don't like his design, and maybe that was my mood, but it was the way he talked. They have that weird Starfire Petra way of speaking, when it's like a character clearly doesn't understand English and they're having trouble with it, which normally I don't mind. Normally, I find it endearing as hell. I think it was because every member of his race the Boov, which maybe it was just my mood, but I was like, this name sounds so fucking stupid. I hate this. Like, I was in a bad mood where it was like there was no joy coming out of me. Fire Emblem has that effect where it is either the best, most fun shit, or like, this is a void. This is a black hole of all happiness. Why am I still here? But anyways, point. They all talk like that before they go to Earth. So it's not like, we're trying to learn this Earth language and all the kind of, like, the weird syntax it has, and this is how we're interpreting it, and now we're trying to learn how to communicate. Like, that'd be one thing. Again, I usually find that endearing, but it's like, no, this is just how they talk amongst each other before they abduct the entire planet because they're on the run from some shit. And it was maybe cute for like 3 lines, and I was like, I remember Clay at one point was like, did I just have a stroke? Like, what the hell did he just say? And I was like, you're not having a stroke. Okay, it's either you're not having a stroke, that's how they talk, or I'm having one too, because like it's just what's happening in the movie, and it just wasn't stopping. I was like, this is woefully unpleasant. I don't want to do this anymore. Now, normally after a DreamWorks movie, regardless if I like it or not, or if I'm just kind of like, it's fine, I make a video the next day. I did not do that for Home because Clay and I have both kind of come to the agreement of neither of us were in a good mood, and let's actually give the movie a fair chance. Now, we probably won't restart those 13 minutes because they were still unpleasant to listen to. But it's like, if I'm in a better mood, I can probably deal with it. I could probably tank it. And I feel like kind of the same for him. And then we'll see afterwards for like, yeah, we watched it again. We were in way better moods. We were in high spirits and it was great. I'm glad I gave it another chance. Or yeah, we were both in a great mood and the movie was still terrible. I still wanted to like bang my head against the wall every time he opened his mouth. And the problem is he never shut up. And now there's a giant hole in my wall. Like, well, we'll see how it goes. But I felt it was worth bringing up the 13 minutes of misery. The other thing to talk about is Survivor. Another episode, more crazy shit, and so the big twist thing in this episode was like, hey, after immunity, 3 people are going to go on an adventure, and they go on the adventure, and the adventure is cool. All 3 of you are switching tribes, but don't worry, you get a free idol out of it. And this idol is good until until you're all living on one beach. So you're like, well, okay, that probably means a merge, but then you have like the fake merge in Thailand, and I mean Survivor One World, the whole gimmick was you were living on one beach, so there's ways where that might not necessarily mean a merge, or like the weird fake merge that they've done in a couple seasons where it's like, yeah, you guys are all living together, but you're not merged yet, so your idol no longer has any power. The idea of you have a temporary idol, like, yeah, it only lasts for this long, is something that they've done in other seasons, and I don't mind that. I think it's kind of interesting. This has power in, like, the tribal portion of the game. Once it becomes an individual game, you can't use it anymore. I kind of like that. I think that's really interesting, kind of creative. But I don't like you're switching tribes, here's an idol, though. It's weird. It's essentially saying, like, okay, we know you're getting screwed over by getting swapped just yourself, so here's some insurance. But it also just kind of means, like, yeah, but the other people you're going over to, now they're just getting screwed as a result. I don't like that. I don't like forced twists for the sake of having a twist. It's why it's not the only reason the hourglass didn't work. The hourglass doesn't work because you're just like, hey, you remember how you guys worked your ass off to win immunity and you had it? Well, fuck you. Because there's no reason to not hit the fucking hourglass. Like, it's so stupid. I'm glad it's not here anymore. The Survivor do or die. Like, oh man, here's going to be this crazy twist where your game comes down to, literally down to luck, to a game of chance because you lost an immunity challenge faster than anyone else. That's stupid. That is genuinely stupid. Your game should not come down to chance unless it's rocks. And rocks should only happen as a result of... It is... Rocks, I've heard literally described, either by like Probst or someone else who's like a producer on the show. It is a punishment for not being able to make a decision. You are all deadlocked. And any one of you can change your mind, and you're not. This is your punishment for that. Cool. I like that. You all know what you're getting into, that your game is now coming down to RNG. Now, at the start of those do or die challenges, but thankfully it was not in the last season, and be like, yeah, first person out's gonna get screwed, so you could sit out of the challenge. Like, sure, you at least get an idea, but you're punishing someone for playing for immunity? I don't like that. Like, that to me does not sound like Survivor. It really doesn't. And then, yeah, like, in the last couple seasons, there's Shipwheel Island, which is like, we're just going to throw as many advantages and twists in the game as possible, which, from one perspective, it's fun to see all the bullshit, and on the other perspective, the game is becoming a lot more about how do I best use my toys rather than my relationships. And to me, Survivor should always be first and foremost about how do I use my relationships to get further. That is what's interesting to me. Like, okay, for example, even in this episode, after the tribe switch happened, you get a scene between Carson and Matt on the orange tribe. I don't know what it's called, like Tika or some shit. Soka's green, which is the one that's dominant in challenges. Then there's Tika and Vati? Am I making that up? Maybe I'm just thinking of Zelda games. But regardless, there's a scene where Matt sits him down. He's like, hey, like Jeannie was the person I was super close to. And it's like, I was fostering that relationship. Now she's gone. So if you're her replacement, and this is not how he says it. This is basically how he says it to the camera. It's like, if he's her replacement, I need him in my side. So I need to start making trust here. He's like, hey man, the most important thing in the game is trust. So I want you to be able to trust me. I want to be able to trust you. So like, let's give each other information. Jeannie, she was my really good friend. She and I trusted each other super well. She has an idol. And, like, I saw her, which is a lie, because Matt has the idol. You made sure she got the fake. It was like, I saw her get the fake. I specifically, okay, like, he doesn't say it like that. I'm confusing myself for a second. Let me try that again. He tells Carson, I saw her get the idol. I know she has it. No one else here knows she has it. That's our little secret. And then he tells the audience, he's like, yeah, I mean, we all know that I have the real one and she doesn't have shit. But Carson doesn't need to know that part. What he needs to know is I am willing to trust him with information. And I remember watching that and thinking, that is such, like, that's either a really good ploy or a really bad one. Because essentially what you're telling Carson, on the one hand, is as proof of trust, let me share with you some secrets, shit that no one else knows, only you will know, to show that I am willing to work with you and share important information. That's good. On the other hand, what you're saying is, hey, so this one person who was my ally, I know something that no one else does. And to make sure that you can trust me, here is other information about my other ally that no one else knows that she trusted me with. Like, if someone came up to me on the island, and I mean, it's really easy to play armchair quarterback with Survivor. Like, don't get me wrong. We have access to information that the players don't, because we see all the confessionals. We see all the shit going on in the background. It's really easy for me to say, this is what I would do. But unless I'm actually on that island, who knows what the fuck I would do. Full disclosure there. But if someone had that conversation with me, my brain would kind of be, I'd be like, yeah, thanks for sharing. I would tell them some things, whether it's real, whether it's pure bullshit. And then to the camera, like, confession, I'd be like, this dude came up to me and said the most important thing in the game is trust. And to get you to trust me, I'm going to backstab one of my allies and tell them all kinds of information about them. So I know for a fact I can't trust this dude with anything. Because if I tell him something, if he wants someone else in his pocket, he is going to blab all my secrets. So I now know I can trust him as far as I can throw him. And I can be personally like, I can't throw very far. And it was just something I thought of. And it's like, to me, that is Survivor. I love that kind of shit. But the idea of like, all right, we're going to force... Okay, so like, I like tribe swaps. Because to me, tribe swaps is like, this is... Because it's multiple people at once, we are just completely swapping and fucking with the social dynamic and seeing how you will now... how y'all will adapt. That to me is really good. That's really interesting. It's like, okay... Now, like, this tribe, let's say a green tribe. Now there's 3 people from original green, 2 people from purple now. Well, now the numbers are 3-2. Green is in an advantage, but maybe one of those 3 was clearly on the bottom and is willing to work with the purple too. So do we stay green strong? Do we flip? Do 2 of these other people on green go, hey, this guy's really a threat. We need to get rid of him and we can work with purple to do so. Do they take out one of the purples and then go like, all right, it's 3-1, and then go 3-1 the other way and take out the guy who's a threat later? Like, there's a lot of ways you can do, like, it's so interesting. But this is, no, we're going to just say like, yeah, pick someone from each tribe. Okay, you go here, you go here, you go here. That's what we're doing. We're just swapping one person. We're giving them an idol so they don't get super fucked, but it also means that, yeah, whoever just someone on the opposite tribe is just gonna get fucked for trying to vote them out. Like, it doesn't feel as interesting to me. And then again, earlier on in the season, yeah, because I was about to bring this up and I got sidetracked. On their ship wheel thing in the previous seasons, where it's like, here's all the new toys we're introducing. You always had the option. Do I want to risk my vote or not? Do I want to gamble for more power or keep the power I have? Here, in that very first one, it was, cool, you have to risk your vote immediately. That's bullshit. You should never have to. It should always be an option. That's fucking stupid. When the show does stuff like that, I can be like, it makes me so mad, it's the worst. I'm like, this is not what it should be about. It should not be about, let's force twists, let's, like, throw shit at the wall to see what sticks. Excuse me. Because if these people are the ones being casted, it's because you believe in them. It's because you believe they can make good television. They can have interesting social dynamics. The ways they'll interact off each other, that will be fun. Not because, gee, let's just do some dumb bullshit because that's what we need to keep people entertained. Now, do I still love the show? Absolutely. Am I enjoying the season? Yes, I am. I am having some fun with it. But there are elements that I don't care for. And there's times when that shit, and it's been like the last few seasons as well, it's like when those elements are emphasized, it's just not as good. When, like, what is the best moment from the last season? It was Jesse voting out Cody. And yes, he did, like, there were some idle plays to be able to do it. Like, there was some shit that went on. But it was the way he was able to use them, like, it was the social element of it that was what made it so interesting. He made, his number one ally, they were bros the entire game. And he looked him in the eye, shook his hand, and stabbed him in the back. And then that moment right after, as soon as Cody gets voted out, when Jesse just, like, offers him the hug, and Cody just stands there for a moment and glares at him. Then hugs him anyways. He's like, I'm gonna be a good sport. I fucking hate you right now, but I'm gonna be a good sport. Like, to me, that's what Survivor is all about. I love it. That's the shit that's interesting. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thankfully, the noise in my car stopped. If you guys couldn't hear it, then I just sound like a nutcase even more than usual. If you could hear it, I'm sorry that annoying sound was there. Now there's another sound because it's starting to rain, which means I need to get in my home soon, but home again. Yeah, it was a shitty 13 minutes, but hopefully the rest of the movie will be fine. I probably won't find out today because of John Wick, but I'll probably try to find out tomorrow.